Hi friends, my name is Debbie and today we're gonna be painting this beautiful barn. My friend had a birthday, she was turning 60. So I went one of these days, I went to her house. She was working, I went took a picture of her barn and I decided to paint it as a present for her. And this is her house. They have 5 acres. It's a beautiful farm. This is the view nighttime. They have donkeys, ducks, they have goats. I mean, you name it, they have it. It's so pretty and so peaceful. And this one here is the barn, and that's the one we're gonna be painting today. So it was a really nice party, and I had such a good time. So we're gonna start off by putting our green on our grass. This is just sap green. I decided to start on dry paper. I didn't want to wet it, but I'm gonna be giving a lot of texture to this grass. So we're gonna place sap green. I have hooker's green. I also have deep hooker's green. I mixed a little bit of green with the blue, and I made a darker color. Then I decided to put some salt for more texture. I want the texture in my background of my grass, and that's what the salt is gonna be coming super handy. It's gonna give you that extra texture that people are gonna wonder how you got this from. How did you do this? And that's the secret. Then I went to use my brown. This is just a very light brown and my palette, and I put lots of water. I didn't want too much paint. I always like to start from light to dark. You can always add darker colors, but you can never go back to lighter ones. And as you can see, I took a paper towel. I thought there was just too much paint in there, so I just did some lifting with the paper towel, and we're gonna give some texture to this wood. The barn is made out of wood completely, and it's a beautiful barn. It looks like some kind of like Disney barn. The inside is amazing. It's super clean, organized, and the horses and the donkeys and all of them, they're having such a good time. They're like rich animals. They have everything in there that you can name of. It's just insane to me. Then for this part of the roof, I'm using just a very light gray. That means I mix my brown and my ultramarine blue, lots of water, not too much paint. Then for the windows, we're gonna be using the same brown, more water on this mixture. I want it very light. And we're just going around where I saw all of the brown around the windows. The bottom, like half of the bottom of the barn is just pieces of wood, and it's so pretty. They have lots of windows that open up to the stables where the donkeys and the horses are. So that's what I'm trying to do over here. And we're just going around the windows. We will be adding some shadows later on, but for now we want to apply the lighter colors first, and then we will go back to our darker ones to add some shadows. So this is part of the windows. The outside of the windows, they're brown, and kind of like the shutter, it's gray and white. It has some crisscross, so we will be leaving those spaces white. So this one here is my gray. It's just ultramarine blue, and my brown. I'm sorry, it's my brown. And it's a 50-50. Actually, I added a little bit more of ultramarine blue because I wanted to be on my gray to be on the bluish side. So I added a little bit more of the ultramarine blue, and still very light on the color. Lots of water. You can always have a piece of paper and test your colors on the piece of paper. If you see that they're too dark, you can always add some more water to it. And I'm just making the poles, the whole, the whole barn, the roof, and all that. And those were pretty light. I think they're like a recyclable pieces of wood because some are darker, some are lighter, and some of them they look really old. So I think they recycle some of those pieces of wood. But again, this barn is super cute. I mean, they even have a room in there for their guests. When the guests come, they can stay there overnight. And it's so beautiful. The view is amazing. The weather wasn't bad. It was really nice. It was like 72 degrees. And it was a beautiful night. Now I'm doing the windows, and like I said, the windows, they have the white and the gray, and I'm just using the exact same gray as the other place for the windows. I'm just making the frames here. Don't worry if they're not completely straight. We don't want to stress out about those things. We will go back to watercolor pencils and a ruler, and you can always fix it, make it more straight. So at this point, I'm not worried about, crooked or a little bit of wiggle in my hand. It's going to be fixed by the end of the painting. I'm going to be doing mixed media. So you can use just watercolor if you like. But for me, I feel that when I use the mixed media, it just kind of helped me fix few things here and there, things that I don't like, that I see they need a little bit more help. That's when the mixed media jumps in, and it's kind of your hero. It helps you fix the mistakes that you made, and it's just beautiful. It just blends together and makes such a beautiful painting. It actually gives a lot of texture to it. So very simple, not complicated, and I had such a good time painting this, and I will do it all over again if I had to. So this is very repetitive. I'm just doing the windows. For the open windows, I'm just using my darker brown. I didn't put too much water in it because I want to make it look like it's going inside the barn. So you want your darker color in that area. And then I'm adding some shadow here under the ceiling. That's where the shadow is always going to be, right on the edge between your ceiling and your wall. And then you just blend it all the way down. We just want the darker color right where the two meet, and then everything else is blended. Then I'm gonna remove my salt with a credit card, and I'm gonna go to my second layer, and in this case I added a little bit of yellow to my sap green, and I'm just putting it some places, not everywhere. And then I'm adding some shadows here for my trees, and this is just my hooker's green with a little bit of blue, ultramarine blue. You can use Payne's gray if you don't have ultramarine, and it's going to give you this nice green color. I added a touch of brown because I want it to be a little bit more muted, and I'm just putting those where the trees are, and then I'm adding some of my medium greens in some areas. And then I'm gonna apply just a touch of more salt a little bit splatter. It goes beautiful, gives more texture to your grass. And then I'm going back to my roof and I'm applying a light wash of my gray. We will let the roof dry completely and then we will go back to the watercolor pencils to make the lines for this is what is it called? It's like a metal roof. So we're gonna go back to it with the watercolor, the gray watercolor pencil, and we're gonna make the lines for it. So please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you give it a like. When you give it a like, it shows more on the YouTube community and other people will be able to watch this video and maybe they can learn some new techniques, or maybe they just want to watch us just for fun. So please make sure you give it a like so other people can watch the same video as you. It will help my channel too, and I will really appreciate it. Now I see there is a line here on the green. I really don't care much for this line, so I'm just gonna blend it. I clean my brush, go back to the line, and remove some of that harsh paint. Now for this, it was like a bush kind of a palm tree thing. So I added my yellow. Now I'm adding some of the sap green, just some areas. We're making some marks here. It's not gonna be exact same realistic as the bush that they had, but I'm just giving the illusion that the bush was there. Then I added my darker green. And then when this dries completely, I'm gonna get my watercolor pencil, my darkest green, and I will go back to it for more more texture, more contrast between the leaves of the bush. For my trees, I'm just using my brown, very light on the brown. We're gonna do lots of layers, and also we're gonna do some dry brush to give some texture to our tree. You can put, in some areas, you can add a little bit of green on your tree. You can also add a little bit of your sienna, and that's gonna give a lot of dimension to your tree. You can use also a dark brown by mixing your brown with a little bit of Payne's gray. And I'm just going around the tree, my trunks. Make sure don't cover the palm tree in there. We want to keep it nice and light. And she's in the front of the tree, so we don't want to cover that. So I'm adding different colors for my brown. I have light brown, medium brown, and a darker brown. I also have some leftover of my green, so I added that in some areas. And you don't have to worry about the tree that much, because when we do dry brush, it's gonna give lots of texture, lots of contrast, and it's gonna be so pretty. We just want to show some of the cracks inside the trunk. Remember, if you put too much paint, you can always use a paper towel and just remove it with a clean brush. Make sure your brush is clean with clean water, and you just go wipe on the place where you think you added too much, and then you use your paper towel and lift it. Now I'm doing some dry brush with the green, just to give a little bit more texture to my grass. I don't want it to be too flat. I want some ups and downs and lows and highs. So that's what I'm doing right now. Now with my watercolor pencil, I'm making the marks for this part of the wood. Again, you can use your watercolor if you just want to use watercolor. For me, pencil was the easiest way to make these lines. My hand kind of wiggles sometimes, so I cannot make like straight lines. And for this part of the tree, I'm just using dry brush to add more texture. I'm using my darker brown, and then with my gray watercolor pencil, I'm putting the lines on my metal roof. And this part is supposed to be very light. That's how they had it. That's how I have it in the picture. So I'm just following my reference photo. Now we're gonna paint the sky. I'm just using clean water. We're gonna wet pretty much the entire paper from the grass up. And then I'm gonna use my light blue. It's called sky blue. And I'm just gonna put the more paint on the top and less paint on the bottom. So I'm just bringing the same color from top to bottom and blend it. Then I get a paper towel, I wrinkle it a little bit, and I'm putting some clouds in there. Then for this part, I'm just adding some of my green. This area is supposed to have lots of bushes and trees in the background. So I'm gonna be adding my trees, starting with some green in the background. Then we add our green. In this case, I'm using my Hooker's green and making some shapes. Wiggle my brush side to side, pretending that this is like pine trees or cypress. And because the area is wet, they're gonna continue to blend. I will go back to it as soon as it's dry a little bit more, and then apply my second coat with just a touch more of my darker green. And still is wet, so they're gonna continue blending through the whole area. And that's what we want. We want the effect that is blurry, so it gives the illusion that the trees are in the background, really in the back. They're not in the front. If you want trees in the front, you let it dry a little bit more, and then with the darker color, you're gonna put your trees on the foreground. I'm wiping some of the extra. I felt that it moved too much, and then I went ahead and redo it. As you can see on the left side, I did some lifting and it's looking really nice. It's giving us that perspective that there's some bushes in the back and these are here in the front. Then for my tree leaves, I decided to use the easiest way to make your trees is to use a sponge. So this is just a regular sponge that I bought in Amazon. You can buy it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I'm using my sap green with a little bit of yellow. We always start with the light colors. Then I added a little bit more of the green and just tapping here and there, not everywhere. We want to make sure you see your lighter colors. We want some highlights and some lowlights, so more contrast. And then I'm using my darker green, which I added a little bit more green and some ultramarine blue. And then I'm going back to the barn with my brown, and I'm just making the lines for my wood to give more texture to this wood. And also I'm doing the shutters for the barn, just making sure my lines are a little bit more straight. Also for the bottom of the building, giving more definition. for my gutter, just added a little bit of the shadow with my watercolor pencil, the gray. And I'm just doing some lifting here, keeping some lighter colors to this part of the barn. I'm adding some more darker color to this bush with my darkest green. And then for this area here, for the windows, I'm using my kind of like a grayish green. And then I'm adding some more texture with my fan brush. Just some places here and there to put some grass in it in the foreground. You always want a little bit of more texture to your grass so it looks more realistic. Even though we're not making a realistic painting, but I like the grass to have more detail. So we're doing our final details, going back to my darker color for my trees. Just adding a few places, keeping some light areas and some see-through of the sky. Now I'm going to my darker brown and making some more lines, pretending to be branches. And if you can wiggle your brush, the better. So it looks more natural, more organic. The more you wiggle, the better it is. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like, and I will see you on my next video. Take care, friends. Bye-bye for now.